Hi, this is Eileen Doherty, and I'm the director of the Colorado Gerontological Society. And I would like to welcome you to our Aging in Place series. This is one of 4 that we will be doing. This one is called Using Technology to Stay in Your Home. So at this point in time, the Gerontological Society is working toward providing the community, both from a professional as well as a consumer perspective, information specifically on housing. One of the things that we are identifying at this point in time is quite a few people who are experiencing various kinds of housing challenges. We also have a grant to look at developing a housing advocacy coalition. So we're going to be doing some work in that area over the next couple of years. If you would like, you can put your name in the question and answer, and you can put your email in there as well. If you would like, if people would like to connect with you at a later point in time. After the presentation, there'll be time for question and answers, and the slides will be available after the presentation. So let's go ahead and get started with smart home technology. So the first thing is basically technology really starts to look at things like tablets and smartphones. Part of what we have come to over the course of a number of years is we now have a variety of ways that we can actually communicate with individuals. So we can communicate with individuals using touch screens. That's where we just touch like our cell phone. We can tell it what to do by being able to either touch that or touch actually a computer screen or a tablet. Another way that we are communicating this today is through intuitive interfaces. And this is technologies that look at Siri, Alexa, and some of the other interfaces that we talk to. We use our voice activation. Assistive technology is another way that people are able to communicate. And this provides both an opportunity for hearing as well as visually impaired people to have better access to technology, and then natural language processing. And this is where artificial intelligence basically takes our what we say and turns that into words and then gets back to us. Home automation is an Internet of Things. So as we look at how do we automate our home or how do we proceed with that, we oftentimes will do that using a control of a button, or we will tell something to do something. We connect these devices to the internet through either a computer or our smartphone or some other device. And then we communicate by sending information. These devices take a command and then they operationalize what we ask it to do. And then it proceeds. So primarily this is done through the use of smart speakers. So most devices that you use will have some kind of a smart speaker. Most of these devices also have a speaker that is compatible. We like to be able to talk to things. Sometimes my husband tells me that I can't really communicate with inanimate objects, but he and I are now having a go around because sometimes Siri does listen to me and do what I ask her to do. So these various devices, these speakers, they will connect to an app. And it's through that app then oftentimes that we're able to accomplish what it is that we want. We either do this then on a phone or we do this through a home assistant. So the two probably systems that we use most frequently is the Amazon Alexa or the Apple Siri. Google has some, and there are some other programs out there or devices, but these are the two most common ones. So artificial intelligence. So what happens with these is that basically through the use of artificial intelligence, the machine listens to what we say, and the more we talk to it, the more likely it is that the machine is able to figure out what it is that we want to do, compute the command, turn that back into either a response or to follow the directions that we have given it. The other thing that is happening in this system is that we are going to personal assistants that have been basically pretty transactional, meaning we give a one-way command, they do it, and they follow those commands. What is happening now in these personal assistants is that they are becoming more intelligent, and they are responding back to us with more focused kinds of responses based on what we put into the system. So here's a little comparison of the two different systems. On Siri, which is the Apple product, that is a digital assistant, and it works on an iPhone. The virtual assistant with the Apple HomePod, you can do in your home. This is where you set up the smart speaker, and it basically is a competitor to the Amazon product. And then the assistant, either digitally or virtually, will follow the commands and respond to the inquiries by using third-party apps. So you have an app on your phone that says, close the garage door. You have an app on your phone that says, find the directions. You have an app on the phone that says, tell me what the weather is. And those apps then are what are used to communicate with the through your device to gather the information that you are asking for. Alexa works similar, but a little bit different. It uses a Bluetooth speaker, and it is what is called sometimes a home assistant. So it is more interactive in the sense that it is really based on conversation, and that conversation uses artificial intelligence. And the more you talk to Alexa, the more likely Alexa is to respond to you in the language that she is used to receiving from you. So it becomes more, as they say, an interactive process as opposed to a one-dimensional type of conversation. What happens on Alexa is a little bit different. Alexa doesn't use the same type of third-party app, but rather your voice is sent over the internet, and then through a process of parsing, they take the recording of your commands, they then make sense out of it, and then the system sends information back to output to you through Alexa. So it's a little bit more complex process, but its intent then is to be able to communicate with you. This is a comparison of Alexa and Siri. Alexa is basically Amazon's product. It can be used to do any number of things. It can wake you up by simply using the word Alexa and then asking it what you want it to do. It is a new brand of voice activation, as I said earlier, and it it kind of has the upper hand in terms of where you're going. Siri is very voice controlled, and it's easier to use for some people, especially on Apple kinds of devices where it is made for. You do have to hold a button, and then if you say, hey Siri, it will follow your directions. It uses natural language processing to respond to your inquiries, and then basically provides you the assistance that you want. So let's take a little look now at the technology that might be available to you to manage in your own home to stay there. So one of them is smart plugs. These plugs basically will allow you to plug in different kinds of devices, and then it will allow you to give instructions to that device, and it will follow that. Another type of device is a plug-in outdoors with a Wi-Fi. This can allow you to control things outside like sprinkler systems, porch lights, stuff like that. Another type of device that people use is home security cameras. There are a wide variety of these kinds of cameras. Some have 360 views, some have directional views, some will spotlight on different parts of your home. So there's a wide variation, if you will, of these types of products. And another type of device is a remote doorbell. This allows you to see who is at your door from like your either tablet or whatever smart device you're using. It allows you to detect motion, allows you to let somebody in if you want to or not. Other devices are smart locks. This allows you to basically only give limited access to people in your home. It also allows you to be secure in terms of not having to carry around keys, lose keys, those kinds of things. Smart thermostats can control the temperature in your house. You can control the temperature from a distance. You can control it from in your living room, wherever you happen to be. LED bulbs are used to look at light and how light is reflected in your home, whether you want it low, whether you want it high, whether you need it more, where you need it. And a really cool thing is the new Robo vacuum and mop floor devices. I got one of those for Christmas, and I use it all the time. It's amazing how the little round circle, if you will, here, or the round device, will go around your home and can then do your vacuuming. The third type of thing is that there are remote sprinkler systems. This allows you to do your yard maintenance without having to pull hoses. If you are someone who has difficulty moving around in your home, but your yard needs to be watered, you can do it with your sprinkler system. You can turn it on and off. You may have it on the timer, but this also allows you to control it from wherever you are. They now also have robot lawnmowers. I know that from many years of experience, this is another one of the items that causes many people difficulty as they attempt to stay in their home because they need to have someone who will come and mow their grass. So with this type of a device, they may be able to maintain longer. Another device that some people are using is garage door openers, because garage doors, again, if they're remote, that's a little bit easier. You can do it. You don't, as you go in and out, you don't have to wait until you get to the switch or the button inside your house, or you don't have to race if you basically close it before you get out of your car or whatever. Again, it can be controlled either from a phone or some other smart device. And then there are also now remote window blinds and smart shades. These, again, can be controlled from your smart device. They can you can open and close them. They can let in light. You can leave someone at home alone, open the windows, let in light, and cheer up their day. So with those kinds of devices, if you start to think about how an older adult might be able to use some of those devices just to continue to maintain their independence and not have to depend on someone. The investment in some of those devices can be kind of pricey. Some are relatively economical and some are more costly. Other devices that could be available to allow individuals to continue to live in their own home we now have smart refrigerators. And these are refrigerators that will track when you open and close it, how often you use it, what the temperature is. And they also have a device that if you take something out, it will automatically add it to your grocery list. So you know that if you took out the syrup and you didn't put it back in, that it will then know to put syrup on your grocery list. Both smart ovens and dishwashers work on a very similar process, as well as the laundry. It allows you to basically turn it on and off from anywhere that you are. You can check the status of the laundry. You can queue it up, so whenever you want it to start, you can set various kinds of timers. You can just basically kind of keep track of what is happening with any food that you have. Back in the old days, 30 or 40 years ago, I was a frequent user of delayed timers on ovens. I would put something in the oven and cook for dinner, and I would about set it at like 3 o'clock to start, and then I would have dinner ready in my oven when I got home from work. Also, smart dishes these days. These dishes are plates and forks that will track how much you eat. They'll monitor your calorie intake and give a report again to your smart device. Slow cookers, you can turn them on and off from a distance. You can change the setting. You can turn it up or down. You can check the temperature. Again, not having to leave whatever it is you're doing, but simply look at it on your smart device and then make a decision in terms of what you want it to do. Coffee pots, I can see how this would be also very useful, because again, you can put the coffee in, and then if you don't want coffee now, but you want to have it set up for later, then you could just turn on the on-off button whenever you were ready. Smart trash cans are something that I think is also worth thinking about. They are touch-free. And basically, they also have the ability to help track whatever groceries or whatever it is that you're using, in the sense that if you throw away, say, the syrup bottle, you can scan the code and then it will also add it to your grocery list. Smart bathrooms, another thing that can be very useful. These are touch-free flushing. There are sensors to open and close the lid. And then there's also the ability with, again, a use of your touch screen to clean the bowl and deodorize the toilet. Again, I know from many years of experience that that is another area where many people who, as they are looking to age in place, find themselves needing to have someone to come in and clean. And the toilet is often that, and the kitchen floor are the two things that people mention most frequently about needing assistance with. Enhanced showers. Again, if you're having difficulty turning on knobs, you can turn it on with your phone. You simply touch it or your smart device, and you can save the shower settings, and you don't have to mess with those. Another thing that I think is really very unique at this point in time is that we are now moving into pet care. and smart pet care. As you may know, a lot of older adults, you may be one of them, who have pets, and pets frequently need attention. So again, as we go through and look at how do we age in place, sometimes pets become something that we are not always able to continue to to keep because we're not able to take care of them, or we have to hire somebody to provide that kind of care. So they have now come out with self-cleaning litter boxes that will wash, sanitize, dry, and fill themselves. That I think is, again, it eliminates the need for bending, for getting some kind of water to sanitize it, take it out. That could be, I think, a real saver. Smart mats. I'm not sure how much of that may or may not be helpful in terms of the pet care as you age in place. But basically, it is a mat that alerts the animal not to enter a certain room or certain kinds of furniture. The smart pet doors, they now have a key that you put on the collar of the pet, and it will then activate opening up the pet door, which I know for some time has been a concern for people in terms of burglars being able to break into their house. And then there are also smart feeders, which you can sense to dispense water and food. Again, those can be controlled in terms of how long you're going to feed a pet and how much you are going to give them. So if you start to think about what these devices can do, what you can really begin to think about is, yes, some of these items, it is important to be able to do those independently. Some of them, you might say, are extremely expensive, and some of them are. However, if you stop and do the math and you are hiring somebody at $25 or $30 an hour to come in and take care of these various different tasks that you may require as you age in place, it may be cost effective for you to do that. So just because there's an initial investment, first off, you may not need to invest in these things up front. You can do them gradually and over time. But it is one way from a kind of how to manage both the inside as well as the outside of your house and allow you to have some level of independence. Now let's take a few minutes and let's look at technology and safety to age in place. And these are personal devices. So these are things that in terms of the tools and technology that can also allow you to live alone. So we use a variety of things. We use sensors, which are things like mats, motion detectors, pillboxes that give us a notice if it's open or closed. We can do some of this through voice activation. We can do some of it through GPS, which has tracking systems on it. Some people use Bluetooth, which is basically means that it is again remote or wireless, helping you to not have cords and those kinds of things to trip over, but it basically all happens in, as my husband would say, the ether. A lot of it is cellular activity that can occur on a mobile phone. And you can either monitor the apps on your phone or on other devices. And some of it occurs with computer programs. So as we look at what does this look like, a lot of it is GPS driven. So basically, I have at this point in time on my phone an app that allows me to see where my husband is, where my grandkids are, where my kids are, and I can track them, you know, whether they're across the room or whether they're on another continent. The pros of this is that basically it's monitoring in real time, and oftentimes there is a data collection methodology associated with it, meaning that if I had someone who wandered out the front door, and I could tell whether they left 20 minutes ago or whether they left an hour ago, giving me some idea of how long they have been out and about. You can set these devices that they notify you when people leave a certain area. This is sometimes called a virtual fence. You can connect the device to various kinds of emergency responders. This is usually a 911 or a family member. And it can also be used to guide you to someone who is lost or cannot find their way back to wherever they wanted to be, whether they've lost their car in a parking lot, whether they've gone out shopping and can't remember how to get home or whatever. The downside of this is that you have to wear or take the device with you at all times. If the device is home on the kitchen counter, it does not have any benefit. Usually these devices have to be charged, so there's a certain amount of due diligence that one must exercise to be able to make sure that they are actually operational. You can have multiple users to monitor the tool or the device. That could be good or bad, depending on what is going on. And sometimes some of these only work if there is a crisis or an emergency. Another thing that these remote monitoring tools are is that they can help you keep track of your health from home. They can track physician visits, medications, how much you take, how much liquid you take, and it can give you more immediate access to medical care. I don't know if some of you are aware, and I don't know much about it, but there were some, I believe, engineering students from the University of Colorado at Boulder who developed a device basically that can be used in toilets, and they were using that as a way to track COVID-19 positive cases. So again, it's that ongoing tracking, being able to get information quickly. The downside of this is that sometimes we get very lackadaisical and we depend too much on technology and we don't really listen to our body. So if the technology doesn't give us a warning or say that something is wrong, then basically we just assume that everything is okay. Another downside of this is that people may not leave their own home. They may just get very sedentary and isolated. And the last thing probably, which is a concern to a lot of people, is that they do not have any privacy. That is definitely, if you are wearing these devices and it is connected to some system, there's going to be constantly someone who can watch you, and there will be a history of when and where you've been. Some of the devices that we have available are smart watches, and they come in all kinds and colors and styles. And they are very smart, not only give you time and temperature, but a lot of other information. There are, as I said earlier, the invisible fences. These are the ones that if you go beyond a certain point, it notifies someone that you have gone outside of that range or that distance. You can carry a fob, which basically goes in your pocket and helps you to identify where you are. Another one, and I think these are really cool, I keep threatening one of my clients, these are insoles that go in the shoes, and I keep threatening one of my clients that I'm going to get some because he keeps trying to escape from the assisted living that he lives in, and then he wanders down the street with the intent to go to the Safeway store, but then he gets a little lost heading back. So I keep threatening to get those so I know where he's at. Another device that sometimes is used is a patch on somebody's back. And then there's a monitor, and that again becomes less obtrusive sometimes for people, but again allows you to, at least if you have access to that monitor, to see where somebody is. There's various kinds of GPS trackers that can be used with various apps on your smart devices. There's also now not only the pendants that you would wear, the old kind that are linked in through a phone system, but now there are also GPS enabled pendants where you can call for emergency assistance or whatever else it is you might need in the way of support. And now I was not aware of this, but in doing the research for this, also now there is smart jewelry charms. So you can actually wear your jewelry rather than just having a pendant that looks very nice. So some considerations if you are looking at involving or using some of this type of equipment is that it does have usually a monthly fee for cellular technology, Bluetooth kind of access. Sometimes you can get bundles and you can save some money that way. And then sometimes depending on whatever the GPS range is or whatever, that will depend on how far you can go. Again, these are devices that if you are willing to utilize them, somebody remote can actually keep in contact with you. They can talk to you. They can know where you're going. They can see if you are in danger. They can call for assistance. The third thing that we thought we'd look at just a little bit was technology and chronic disease. And this is basically technology coming into your home. So one really, really big one that has come into our lives in the past year has been telehealth. It has been around for a very long time, but has really been embraced by physicians and other healthcare providers as part of the pandemic. There is much information that is going on in the literature at this point in time about virtual visits are faster, they're less expensive, and they allow the practitioners to be able to increase the number of people that they can help. They're also finding that visits are kept more frequently if they are done virtually. You don't have to cancel those appointments for whatever reason somebody couldn't get there. The one I love the most when I'm talking to people is I had an appointment with the doctor, but I was too sick to get up and go. So if you have a telehealth visit, you would be able to keep it. Usually you have pretty good video connections, and these can be done usually without too much special software. At this point in time, one of the studies that I looked at said that there was a 99.85% connection rate. So again, people were able, when they requested this type of technology, to actually be able to use it. You can also do it from anywhere, whether you're the patient or the provider. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. The one thing you do have to have usually is some connection to the internet. Another thing, which is a little bit duplicative of what we talked about a little bit earlier, is that there are various kinds of devices that can either be worn or that they have various kinds of sensors. So for example, I have an older lady right now who has a pacemaker, and they have a device that sits in her living room, and it records the activity of her pacemaker. And when they want her to check it out, or they need to do something, or they have questions, then basically she will put this monitor up to her heart, and then they can get various kinds of readings on that pacemaker to make sure that it is functioning correctly. We also know that a lot of times if we're able to do some types of these wearable devices, that we get better outcomes because people are able to stay in the comfort of their own home. I know in my own heart that the lady who has the pacemaker, if she wasn't able to manage it from her home, I am pretty sure that she probably would be for sure in assisted living, if not even possibly in a nursing home at this point in time. Another benefit is it really allows patients to become more involved in their own health care. Managing chronic conditions, as probably most of you know, is an extremely expensive part of our healthcare costs. So part of these devices, they're usually relatively easy to use. They're wearable. You can either read them yourself or they will be read for you. They can gather vital information as well as symptomatic data. So again, they can tell whether or not your glucose is high, whether or not your blood pressure has gone up, whether or not you've had a drop in your blood pressure, whether your heart has slowed. This helps, again, for us to be able to manage not only those conditions, but to get help before you actually go into crisis. If used well, these devices can help you to manage your own care in a very personalized way. And hopefully, we're seeing some good health outcomes as a result of this. Some of the devices that are available are blood pressure monitors with pulse readings, glucose indicators for diabetics. We can look at calorie and exercise burning trackers. We can look at calorie intake, surveillance monitors, voice apps for medication reminders. All of these kinds of things have been available in a relatively inexpensive form for a number of years as home devices. And now what is happening is that we are moving all of these devices into a virtual world, in the sense that they're able to work even when we are not exactly paying attention to them. So some of the benefits basically are, as we automate these things, we have fewer both hospital visits as well as ER visits. It saves travel time. We're looking at lower both hospital costs for the institution as well as the patient. The readings tend to be pretty accurate, so we're getting good information that we can use in terms of making medical decisions. We're also seeing a lot of patient engagement, and the historical data is available regardless of who is needing to monitor your condition. I looked at one study just to kind of get a feel for how the medical profession feels about quality of care. And 69% basically said that remote patient monitoring was a cost reducer. 68% said that patient engagement was really good because they could involve their patients in the long-term management of their health, and they could see on a regular basis what the data was, and helping them to explain and understand that made a difference. And then 68% of the medical profession also said that these types of electronic and medical records were very time consuming. The last thing that I want to call to your attention basically at this point in time is that when we use technology, we give up privacy, and we need to pay attention to security. So if you engage in any or all of these devices, and we've talked about it very openly in terms of the data that is collected with the health monitoring systems, but it's true with the devices that you would use, the GPS locators, as well as many of the devices that you would use in your home, is that they are collecting data at all times, and whoever the companies are that are mining this data have access to it and have the ability to market to you even more, as well as to use this data usually in an aggregate to look at how do they change behavior, how do they improve behavior, how do they get you to buy other products. The other thing is that the smart speakers are usually on at all times. So even when you do not want them to listen to you, unless you overtly do something to shut them off, they are going to be collecting data. Another thing to be aware of is that if we are too dependent on these types of devices and we have a power outage and the internet goes down, then our devices are not going to work. Now, some of them do have a battery backup through some phone lines. If the phone stays up, you're good. If not, then again, you may be without your devices if the phone goes down. Some devices will use cellular radio, and that will go through the internet or your phone, and those are a little more insulated from power outages. The other thing that we want you to be aware of is cybersecurity. This is basically that there are security threats that can come through on each and every device that you have. So if you have 20 of these devices, you will need to monitor all of them for whatever security threats there might be or security breaches. To protect yourself, you will want to have a secure network that is passworded with encrypted firewalls and other encryptions, just to make sure that people have difficulty accessing your information. Also, another thing would be that you want to register your devices. If you buy some of these devices, such as at Best Buy or Target, you don't register the devices with those companies, but rather you would register them with the manufacturer so that you get those manufacturer updates. Always keep your updates up to date because the purpose of those is usually for some type of a security breach or some kind of a weakness in the system that the company is trying to fix. These are a couple of resources that you might want to just take some time and look at. They're kind of interesting. So with that, I have a couple of minutes. Are there any questions?
Yes, Eileen, we have some questions. So this was a question and comment. Can the speaker talk more about elementary technology level? So I think if you could go ahead and talk a little bit more about what is an app and what do you mean about what is a third-party app? There were a couple of questions with the same idea around it.
So if you have a smartphone and you have you're able to do banking through your Wells Fargo app. If you download the app from Wells Fargo, that is an app. So anytime you are able to access some other program or some other product through your smart device, and you tap or click on it or you talk to it, that's a third-party app. Most of the smartphone type of things use third-party apps, whereas Alexa uses artificial intelligence. And when you speak to Alexa, it basically uses your voice recognition. Then it goes out to find whatever it is that you have asked it. And then based on your voice recognition, it tries to then decipher what it is that you want and bring you back an answer. Next question.
How much does it cost to have a service help develop a program for someone's needs? Does your company do this so people can gradually evolve into the technology?
I have no idea what it costs, and the answer to the question is we do not offer that service, but I'm sure there are services out there, and we could probably offline maybe help you come up with a plan. At this point in time, I really don't know anybody who is offering that as a package of services. Next question. I can't hear you, Maria.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
I see that.
There were a couple of comments about worries about being hacked or simply having the device or whatever, whether it's the refrigerator or any of the other devices for them to malfunction, and then how to problem solve that or how to stay safe.
That is probably in the overall biggest concern is that any device that is on the internet can always be hacked into. And the best I can say is at this point in time, firewalls, strong encryption, as well as strong passwords and changing those frequently.
At this moment in time, we don't have any other questions or comments.
Okay. Then I have a couple more slides, and I just want to let people know about the Housing Advocacy Coalition. The purpose of this coalition is basically to bring together older adults with a focus on Black and Latinx older adults to look at the housing plan within the city and county of Denver, as well as greater Colorado, to try to meet the needs of low-income and older adults. And our goal in this is to really look at some of the systemic barriers around racism and aging and how those impact the health and housing of communities of color. This is an invitation to anybody who's on the call who would like to join. Our goal is to recruit 30 older adults and key partners from the community to look at building a coalition that can look at a community assessment of the current housing policies. It's a 3-year project. I'm actually hopeful that this might be an opportunity with the American Rescue Plan, that we would have an opportunity to look at some new ideas and innovation and different ways to support older adults who are currently experiencing both ageism and racism as it relates to housing. So if you would like to join us, you can either put your name or email in the Q&A to get some information. You can also, when you get the slides, you can register for the organizational meeting at the link on this website. And the meeting will be on May the 6th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would welcome any of you to join us, or if you have any friends or relatives who might be interested, we'd be happy to have them join us as well. Our next Aging in Place presentation will be Living with Someone, Family, Friends, and Roommates. It will be on May the 20th from 1 to 2. And you can either click on the register button or go to our website and sign up. And lastly, here is just a list of the different programs that the Gerontological Society is currently involved with. And if you have any needs, please feel free to reach out to us. We expect that we will have some additional money to do some more grants for hearing aids, as well as dental grants and vision grants within the next couple of months. We've done a lot of work in the area of advanced care planning and can provide services there. If you would like to be involved as a telephone buddy to call somebody once or twice a week just to check in on them, or if you know somebody who needs that type of a call, feel free to give us a call. The other thing we are working on for Older Americans Month in partnership with a couple of private corporations is a COVID-19 care package. We have volunteers who are going to be sending postcards along with masks and some other kind of care package staff to some of the individuals that we are working with. With that, the only other thing is that if any of you are in housing or home care, we are updating our housing and home care locator at our website at www.senioranswers.org. And we'd invite you to claim your service, to update your information so that people who are looking for housing and home care will be able to find your services and be able to take advantage of those. Thank you all for joining, and we look forward to having you join us again in the future. Thank you.